Hello everyone and welcome back for some more Drag Race gossip, secrets and drama. We all know that editing is a big part of reality TV, especially for Drag Race, and the edit can make a big difference on how the show and the contestants are perceived. And although the editing on Drag Race tends to be pretty good, there have been some mistakes made over the years. So here are 20 editing mistakes from RuPaul's Drag Race that you may never have noticed. All that and more coming up in today's video, so let's get started. And just before we get started, I just want to say that I'd really love to get to 100k subscribers by the end of the year, so if you haven't subscribed yet, please make sure you do, as it really makes a massive difference to my channel. Thank you! So we're first going to look at a few examples of audio editing on Drag Race, where you can tell that the audio has been changed in post-production. The first example comes from season 1 when Chanel was talking to Ongina. If you listen carefully, you can hear that the words MAC makeup box sound different to the rest of the sentence.
I'm doing a diagram of what I want to work, and I'm writing down the key products in our MAC makeup box.
This process is called ADR, or Automated Dialogue Replacement, and it's when they get someone to re-record a portion of the audio in a studio, usually because the original audio was too low quality to use, or they want to change the audio slightly to better fit the narrative of the edit, and this happens a lot on reality TV. And so it's probable that in this example of Chanel and Ongina, that the editors wanted to get in the name of the brand MAC, probably due to sponsorship reasons. So they likely got Chanel to re-record this later, or they may have taken a soundbite of Chanel saying the word MAC from a different point in the episode. Another well-known example of this is Tatiana in All Stars 2. During the reading challenge, when Tatiana is giving a read to Alaska, you can clearly hear that the word Mexican sounds different.
Alaska, I finally got to listen to anus, and I get it, because it sounds like what my anus does after eating Mexican.
This example is pretty obvious, and it was likely that Tatiana originally used a brand name like Taco Bell or something like that, which TV shows try to avoid. So they probably got Tatiana to re-record this after, which is why it sounds so strange. And I always get questions from people asking how I watch all of the different franchises of Drag Race, and the answer is that I use a VPN like Surfshark, which is the sponsor of this video. With Surfshark, you can easily change your IP address to a different country, which means you'll be able to access more seasons of Drag Race using your streaming services. For example, if you'd like to settle in for the autumn season and cozy up to some episodes of Drag Race, simply use Surfshark to change your location to the UK, and you'll be able to watch several seasons of Drag Race, All Stars and Untucked on Netflix. You can also use BBC iPlayer to watch Drag Race UK, Canada and Down Under for free. Surfshark also encrypts your data and keeps you safe online, so if you're getting into the fall vibe and buying a new outfit, Surfshark is there to keep you protected. Surfshark offers an incredible 24-month VPN plan, which is one of the best options you can find on the market. And you'll even get a bonus 3 months extra for free. Just scan the QR code on screen or click the link in the description and pinned comment and use my promo code DRAGT to claim this amazing offer. And thank you to Surfshark for sponsoring this video. Another example of audio editing happens when the editors take sound bites from different moments and stitch them together to make it sound like it was all from the same sentence. On Drag Race, this often happens during the confessionals, and one of the reasons the editors do this is to make a sentence sound more succinct or to push a certain narrative that fits the storyline of the episode. This is also called the Frankenstein edit, as they are taking bits from other parts and sticking them all together. For example, in All Stars 8, during a workroom conversation, we hear a confessional voiceover from Alexis Michelle, and you can clearly hear that it is a collection of different sound bites and the intonation is totally different.
Candy is radiant and special, and now that we made an agreement to look out for each other, I feel even closer to her.
But there are also times when the editors do this type of Frankenstein editing to try and make it seem like the contestants are saying something different to what they actually said. During the earlier seasons, they didn't make the queens wear the same clothes for their confessionals, so it was easier to tell when the editors were doing this Frankenstein editing. One very obvious example comes from season 3 with Shangela, when she is talking about Stacey Lane Matthews, which I have talked about previously on my channel. In this particular clip, you can see that they have clearly taken 2 different confessionals of Shangela when she is wearing 2 different outfits. And they've spliced them together to make it sound like Shangela was questioning whether Stacey Lane Matthews was up to the task.
What would Anna Nicole do? I love my girl Stacey, but I don't feel that she's completely confident in what she's saying. So I'm wondering, is she gonna be able to pull this off?
And in all likelihood, Shangela may not have even been talking about Stacey when she said this, but the editors have made it look like she was. There have also been some examples of when the editors cut off the audio to make it seem like the Queen said something different than they actually did. For example, in season 12 during episode 5 during Untucked, Britta was asked who she thought should be in the bottom, and you can clearly hear that she said something else after the word Aiden, but the editors chopped it off.
Well, say it. Who do you think should go home?
Aiden.
It's not exactly clear why they did that in this particular instance, but it could be that Britta did say Aiden's name and then she said something else, so the editors decided to cut it out. But by cutting out the context of a sentence, it does often change the meaning of what the Queen was saying. Another example of this comes from season 6, episode 5, which was the Snatch Game episode. And RuPaul was doing a workroom walkthrough and was talking to Ben de la Creme. And they make it sound like Ben is saying that she doesn't know how to do a British accent.
Now you do an English accent?
You know, I don't know how to do one if I'm honest.
This editing actually sounds pretty good, and you probably wouldn't realise that this sentence was actually chopped off. But Ben once admitted during a viewing party that what she actually said was that she doesn't know how to do a British accent unless she's doing Maggie Smith's accent. But the editors clearly decided to cut that part out to add some tension and make it seem like Ben was going to struggle during Snatch Game, even though that obviously was not the case. And now we're going to look at some actual visual editing mistakes on Drag Race. We all know that the earlier seasons of Drag Race were still finding their feet, and there were a few small editing mistakes they clearly missed. For example, in season 3, episode 7, during Yara Sophia's runway, there is a split second where you can see another queen walking backstage. And although you can't really see the Queen that well, when you compare it to all the Queen's runway outfits, it looks like it's probably Manila, because her outfit is the only one that really matches the outline that we saw. And this would make sense because Manila was next on the runway after Yara, and so it seems like Manila may have been a bit too early when getting ready for her runway walk, and she accidentally walked into frame. And we also know that in reality TV, things are filmed multiple times and from multiple different angles, and in the wise words of Tatiana, what you see isn't always the truth. And there have been many examples of this during the runways and the judges' critiques. One example is very recent and comes from season 15, episode 8, which was the lip sync Lollapalooza. Near the end of the episode, Anitra had to decide who to save between Spice and Jax, and Anitra picked to save Spice, and Spice left the stage and went back to the workroom. However, a bit later on, they show a shot of Spice still standing at the back of the stage.
This is your last chance to impress me and save yourself from elimination.
And this mistake is now gone from the episode on WOW Presents Plus, but the footage I showed earlier was from the original broadcast, so they clearly fixed this mistake once they realised. Another example of this type of continuity error comes from season 4 episode 6, which was the Float Your Boat challenge. In the workroom, while the contestants were decorating their boats, the contestants were having a conversation. And you can see that Willem was adding stickers to her boat, but every time they cut to a shot of Willem, her boat was at different stages of decoration, which showed several continuity errors.
In June of '69, the cops decided to go in and cause some trouble.
They were just, giving this one particular bar all kinds of hell.
Clothing or makeup?
Articles of clothing that were assigned to your genders at all time, or you could be arrested.
Then RuPaul came into the workroom and talked to Willem, and her boat had lots of stickers on it. And then later on, they were having another conversation in the workroom, and Willem's boat had less stickers on it than before. There have also been examples of when the editors have clearly used shots from previous episodes, and this means that queens who were eliminated briefly appear in an episode even after they were eliminated. For example, in Season 7, Episode 8, which was the Conjoined Twins Challenge, Max had already been eliminated the episode before. But then, Max mysteriously appears at the beginning of the episid.
We'll all band together and go on strike.
Yes.
We shall not do drag.
Girl! She'd already had hers!
And if we look closer, we can tell that this shot of the queens turning around to look at the TV screen is clearly from a different episode. And this is because Ginger Minj is wearing a red top here, but then in the next shot when they turn around, she is wearing a white patterned top instead. Violet Chachki is also at the end of the table in the first shot and appears to be wearing a light coloured top and a bag. And then in the next shot, Violet is wearing a totally different coloured t-shirt, she's wearing a baseball cap, is not wearing the bag, and she is also in the middle of the table instead of at the end. Another example of an eliminated queen magically appearing even after their elimination is in Season 6, Episode 4, which was Shade the Rusical. During a workroom conversation between Adore, Courtney and Darian, in the background you can briefly spot Vivacious sitting behind Jocelyn, even though Vivacious had been eliminated the episode before.
Sort of the American counterpart of like the first real sort of gay person on American Idol. People weren't liking it.
Similar continuity errors have also happened on the main stage too. For example, in Season 4, Episode 6, Willem was announced as the winner of the challenge and went to the back of the stage. But then, in the next shot, Jeremy, who was formerly known as Fifi O'Hara, is called safe, and we can see that Willem is actually still standing next to Jeremy, and then Willem disappears again in the next shot.
When it's right, it's right.
Yes, girl.
Fifi O'Hara. You're safe.
Thank you.
And this exact same thing happened on Season 5, Episode 3, when Roxy Andrews was called safe and walked to the back of the stage. But then in the next shot, Jinx Monsoon is also called safe, and when they zoom out, Roxy is still on the stage.
You are safe. Jinx Monsoon. You're safe.
Thank you.
Monica Beverly Hills.
There have also been several continuity errors on Drag Race during performances because they usually film the performances multiple times to get all the different camera angles. For example, on Canada's Drag Race Season 1, during the final 3 performance when the queens sing their own verses, we can see that in some shots, Rita Baga has a large collar, and then in other shots, the collar is lying down flat.
Alien actress taking over. So bow down to your queen, let's make it clear. I came here to unite.
There was also a similar error in US Season 13 Episode 12, which was the Roast Challenge. And during the lip sync between Utica and Simone, we can see that Simone's neck piece keeps disappearing and then reappearing again. And so this proves that often the shots that they show during the lip syncs are not necessarily in the order in which they happened. Another example of this comes from All Stars 6 Episode 2, when Raja O'Hara lip synced against the lip sync assassin for that week, which was Brooklyn Heights. There is a moment during the lip sync when Brooklyn does a dip in the middle of the stage, and then in the next shot, Brooklyn is on the left-hand side of the stage and drops down again, and then a moment later she's back in the middle of the stage again. There have also been several instances on Drag Race of certain shots being reused at different times, and sometimes this can make things look shadier than they actually were. One example I have talked about before on my channel is during Season 4 with Jeremy Carey. In Episode 6, during the lip sync between Milan and Jiggly Caliente, they show this confessional of Jeremy.
Milan,
girl, that's clearly a dude.
And then that same confessional soundbite is used several episodes later during the makeover challenge in Episode 10.
5, 6. All right.
No, that's clearly a dude.
And this makes it seem like Jeremy was being shady towards Milan, which may not have actually been the case. There have also been other instances of editors using the same shot of a queen multiple times in quick succession. For example, in season 6, episode 6, during the reading challenge, when Darian is reading Adore, they show the same shot of Adore nodding her head twice in a row.
Going to say this very slowly so you can understand. You're dumb.
There was also another famous example of this during season 7 episode 4's Untucked, and they kept showing the same zoom-in shot of Katya sitting on the sofa, and they used it several times throughout the episode, even though at certain points Katya was no longer sitting on the sofa.
There's not a lot of green.
I'm wearing just as much green as Violet is. Let's be real.
The infatuation that the judges have with Max.
I at least wanted y'all to know that you've all been very amazing.
It's your stick, you know that. The first thing, which is the first thing you said to me when we stood at the table and when we first walked in the workroom.
I think about your man arms.
Yeah, and
Face too is scary.
Okay, ladies, we're headed to main stage now. Everyone wants to grab their stuff and follow.
And one other very subtle editing error happened during season 4, episode 5, which was the Snatch Game. Chad Michaels portrayed Cher and switched wigs several times throughout Snatch Game. However, early on, Chad is wearing a blonde wig, but later Chad changes into a darker wig. But then they do a close-up shot of Chad's answer, and you can see that Chad is still wearing the blonde wig, even though she had already changed into the dark wig at that point.
Sleazy, there's scabies, crabs, and fleas. Don't move. I'm afraid that's not a goal.
And these examples just serve as a great reminder that reality TV is often not exactly the way it appears, and often the editing makes a huge difference to the end product and how we as an audience perceive the contestants and the show. And so there you go, there were 20 editing mistakes from RuPaul's Drag Race that you may never have noticed. Did you notice any of these mistakes when you first watched the episodes? And are there any other editing mistakes that you noticed on Drag Race that I haven't mentioned? Let me know in the comments. And thank you to Surfshark for sponsoring this video. Surfshark offers an incredible 24-month VPN plan, which is one of the best options you can find on the market. And you'll even get a bonus 3 months extra for free. Just scan the QR code on screen or click the link in the description and pinned comment and use my promo code DRAGT to claim this amazing offer. I'd also like to say a massive thank you to all of my amazing Patreon members. In the You're a Winner Baby tier, we have Emerald1508 and PC Smush. And then in the Shantae You Stay tier, we have Becky, Charlie, David, Emma, Kylie, Max, Tebby and Craig. Thank you all so much for your incredible ongoing support. It really does make such a massive difference to my channel and it allows me to keep making videos for you all, so thank you all so much. If you'd like to join my Patreon and get exclusive benefits, such as early access to my videos, shoutouts in my videos, as well as priority access when submitting interview questions, among other benefits, you can join my Patreon for just a few dollars a month to unlock these amazing benefits, and I'll put a link in the description. Please make sure you like, comment and share this video as it really helps support my channel. And of course, please make sure you hit the subscribe button to stay up to date about new uploads. Thanks for watching and I hope you'll join me again in future videos. Thank you, bye!